The first time Claire Foster saw Roman DeLuca cry, there was blood on the church floor. Not much, just enough to catch the candlelight, just enough to make the ancient stone beneath his knees look black. The storm outside slammed against the broken stained glass windows of the abandoned Sicilian chapel, sending rain through the cracks like cold fingers. Somewhere beyond the cliffs, the sea roared against the rocks, wild and endless. Roman DeLuca, the man New York whispered about like a curse, knelt before the altar with his head bowed. His black shirt was torn at the shoulder. His hands were shaking. Claire stood 10 feet away from him with a gun in both hands. She had spent 6 years building cases against men like him. 6 years calling him a criminal, a monster, a disease dressed in Italian wool. And now the most feared mafia boss alive was on his knees in front of her, broken by a secret she had not yet understood. "Roman," she whispered, though she hated the softness in her own voice. He did not look at her. He stared at the small silver locket resting in his palm. Inside it was a photograph of Claire when she was 19 years old. Her face, her smile, her life before everything changed. Roman's voice came out low and ruined. "I saved you," he said. "And you hated me for it." Claire's breath caught. Outside, thunder rolled over Sicily. Behind her, a door creaked open, and her missing sister stepped out of the shadows, smiling with a gun in her hand. 3 weeks earlier, Claire Foster had believed justice was simple. Not easy, never easy, but simple. Guilty men lied. Powerful men paid. Families like the DeLucas built kingdoms on fear and silence, and Claire's job was to tear those kingdoms apart one carefully prepared case at a time. At 32, she was one of the youngest prosecutors in New York to lead an organized crime division. The press called her ice-blooded. Defense attorneys called her worse. Her colleagues admired her because she could stand in front of a jury and make dangerous men look small without ever raising her voice. Claire preferred facts to feelings, evidence to instinct, courtrooms to chaos. Then her sister disappeared. It happened on a rainy Thursday night. Claire had just finished another televised hearing against a DeLuca associate when her phone buzzed on the marble steps of the courthouse. Elena's name flashed across the screen. Claire answered with one hand while reporters shouted questions around her. "Elena, I can't talk right now." There was no answer, only breathing. Then her sister's voice, thin and terrified. "Claire, don't go home." Claire stopped walking. The city blurred around her. "What?" A sharp sound cracked through the phone. Glass breaking. A muffled struggle. Then Elena whispered, "He knows." The line went dead. By midnight, Elena Foster's apartment in Brooklyn was empty. The front door hung open. The windows were shattered. Her furniture was overturned. A trail of blood led from the kitchen to the fire escape, then disappeared in the rain. The police found no body, no ransom note, no fingerprints. Only one thing had been left behind on Elena's bed, a black silk tie. Claire knew the monogram instantly. R.D. Roman DeLuca. The name alone changed the temperature of the room. Detectives stopped talking when Claire picked it up. Officers exchanged looks. One of them muttered that it might be staged. Another said DeLuca never left evidence unless he wanted to send a message. Claire said nothing. Her hand closed around the tie until her knuckles turned white. For 6 years, Roman DeLuca had haunted her career. He was never photographed unless he allowed it, never recorded unless he wanted to be heard. Witnesses against him either disappeared, recanted, or became too terrified to speak. He owned politicians without meeting them, bankers without threatening them, judges without leaving a paper trail. His empire stretched from New York docks to private islands, from luxury hotels to underground casinos, from legitimate shipping companies to things Claire could never prove. But she knew, everyone knew, Roman DeLuca was cold power in human form, and now he had taken her sister. Claire went after him before sunrise. Not with a warrant. Not with a team. Alone. His penthouse sat above Manhattan like a dark crown, 70 floors of black glass and guarded elevators. When Claire walked into the lobby, every conversation stopped. The guard at the front desk looked at her badge, then at her face. Then he turned pale. "Miss Foster," he said carefully, "Mr. DeLuca isn't available." Claire placed the black silk tie on the marble counter. "Tell him I'm here." The guard touched his earpiece. His eyes shifted toward the security cameras. Claire could feel them watching her. A minute passed. Then another. Finally, the private elevator opened. No one came out. The doors simply waited. Claire walked in. The elevator rose in silence. When the doors opened again, she stepped into a penthouse of shadow and glass. Rain streamed down the windows. The city below glittered like a battlefield of lights. Roman DeLuca stood near the far window with his back to her. He wore a black suit without a tie, tall, still, terrifyingly calm. He did not turn around. "Claire Foster," he said, "you should not have come alone." His voice was quieter than she expected. That made it worse. She stepped forward. "Where is my sister?" Roman turned. For one breath, Claire forgot every speech she had ever prepared against him. Not because he was handsome, though he was in a way that felt almost cruel. Dark hair, sharp cheekbones, controlled mouth, eyes so black they seemed to absorb light, but because he looked at her, like he already knew exactly how this night would end, like he had been waiting for her. "Elena is missing," he said. Claire laughed once, cold and disbelieving. "Don't say her name." His gaze dropped to the tie in her hand. Something moved in his expression. Not guilt, recognition. Then it vanished. "That is not mine," he said. "It has your initials. So do many things designed to destroy me." Claire crossed the room and slapped him. The sound cracked through the penthouse. Every guard in the shadows moved at once. Roman lifted one hand. They froze. He did not touch his face, did not blink, did not punish her for it. He only looked at her with that unbearable stillness. "If I had taken your sister," he said, "you would not have found a tie. You expect me to believe you?" "No." His voice lowered. "I expect you to survive long enough to learn the truth." A gunshot shattered the window behind him. Roman moved before Claire understood what had happened. 1 second, she was standing in rage. The next, his arm was locked around her waist, and his body was covering hers as glass exploded inward. He dragged her down behind a marble table, his hand pressed hard against the back of her head. More shots tore through the penthouse. The city lights fractured in the rain. Claire smelled gunpowder, expensive cologne, and the heat of Roman's body shielding hers. "Stay down," he ordered. She tried to move. His grip tightened. "I said stay down." His voice was calm, too calm, as if assassins firing into his home were an inconvenience. His men returned fire. The room filled with shouting, breaking glass, and the sharp pulse of violence. Claire's pulse hammered against her throat. Roman looked down at her. For the first time, his composure cracked. Not from fear for himself, fear for her. It was gone almost instantly. But Claire saw it, and hated that she had. Within minutes, she was forced into the back of a black SUV under heavy rain, wrapped in Roman's coat, surrounded by armed men she had spent years trying to imprison. Roman sat beside her, one hand holding a phone, the other resting near a pistol. Claire stared at him. "You staged this." He did not look at her. "If I wanted you dead, Claire, you would not be sitting beside me arguing. Don't use logic with me." His mouth almost moved. Not quite a smile. "Then use your instincts. My instincts say you're dangerous." "I am." The SUV sped through rainy Manhattan, followed by 3 more black vehicles. Claire gripped the door handle. "Let me out." "No, you don't get to keep me." Roman finally turned toward her. His face was shadowed by passing streetlights. "If I let you out, you die before morning. Why do you care?" Silence. For a moment. The only sound was rain striking the roof. Then Roman said, "Because whoever took your sister used my name, that means they want you close to me, and you're giving them exactly what they want." His eyes held hers. "No," he said quietly. "I'm giving them what they fear." The safe house was hidden beneath an old hotel near the Hudson. Claire was taken through a service entrance, down a freight elevator, and into a private underground corridor lined with cameras and steel doors. The place looked less like a shelter and more like a fortress, built by someone who had never trusted peace. Roman's men avoided looking directly at her, not because she frightened them, because he did. He gave orders in Italian, low and precise. Names, locations, searches, flights, surveillance. No wasted words. Claire watched him work. This was the man she had studied in case files. The ghost behind shell companies. The shadow behind witness disappearances. The king no one could indict. But he was also the man who had thrown himself over her when bullets came through the glass. That did not fit. She hated when facts did not fit. Roman led her into a quiet room with one narrow window facing the river. A clean shirt waited folded on the bed. A first aid kit sat open on the table. Claire noticed blood on her wrist. Not hers. Roman's. A shard of glass had cut through his shoulder. "You're bleeding," she said. He removed his jacket. "It's nothing. It needs stitches. I've had worse." "I'm sure that sounds impressive to criminals." His eyes flicked to hers. There it was again, that almost smile. Then he pulled off his shirt. Claire looked away too late. His body was marked by old scars, knife wounds, bullet scars. A long white line crossing his ribs. Violence written across skin like history no courtroom could admit. But one scar stopped her cold. A jagged burn over his left side. Roman noticed her staring. His expression closed. "Don't," he said. "Don't what?" "Ask." Claire stepped closer anyway. "Where did you get that?" His jaw tightened. "Saving someone who never knew." The words landed strangely between them. Too personal. Too old. Before Claire could answer, a phone rang. Roman picked it up. He listened. His face became stone. Then he looked at Claire. "They found your sister's car." Elena's car was discovered at a private airfield in New Jersey. Empty. The trunk contained a scarf, a broken phone, and a single envelope addressed to Claire. Roman's men brought it to the safe house under armed escort. Claire tore it open with shaking fingers. Inside was a photograph. Elena tied to a chair in a white room, alive, crying. On the back, written in black marker, "Rome knows where she is." Claire looked at Roman. His face did not change, but his hand curled into a fist. "You know something," she said. "I know this room." Claire's blood went cold. "Where?" "Hormy." The flight left within the hour. Not from JFK. Not from any airport, Claire recognized. Roman's private jet waited on a dark runway surrounded by SUVs, its lights glowing through rain and fog. Claire stood at the bottom of the stairs. "I'm not leaving the country with you." Roman paused beside her. "You are, if you want Elena alive. I could call the FBI." "You could." His eyes moved toward the distant road. "And the person inside the FBI helping them will know exactly where you are." Claire stared at him. "You're lying. I wish I were." The wind pulled at her hair. Roman reached toward her, then stopped before touching her. That restraint unsettled her more than contact would have. "Claire, he said, softer now. Your sister is bait. You are the target. And I am the weapon they expect you to hate too much to use. She hated him for being right. She boarded the plane. Over the Atlantic, neither of them slept. Roman sat across from her under dim cabin lights, reading files on a tablet while his men whispered in the rear. Claire watched clouds move like ghosts outside the window. Finally, she spoke. Who took her? Roman did not look up. The Belandis. The Roman family? The oldest rival to my bloodline. Why would they want my sister? He hesitated. Claire caught it. Tell me. His eyes lifted. Your father prosecuted Belandi men 20 years ago. My father was a district attorney. He was more than that. Claire's body went still. Roman placed the tablet down. Before he became a district attorney, your father worked as legal counsel for families that did not put their names on buildings. Claire stood so fast her glass tipped over. You don't get to talk about my father. He stole something from the Belandis. My father was murdered by organized crime. Yes. Roman's voice gentled in a way that cut deeper than cruelty. And you built your entire life on that truth. But not all of it was true. Claire wanted to strike him again. Instead, she gripped the edge of the table. What did he steal? Roman's silence was answer enough. Something valuable, something dangerous, something still alive. In Rome, the city looked ancient and guilty beneath the rain. Roman's convoy moved through narrow streets and past golden churches, black SUVs cutting through traffic with effortless intimidation. Claire sat beside him, feeling the weight of distance from New York like a second skin. She should have been afraid of Rome. Instead, she was afraid of how safe she felt beside him. At a private hotel near the Spanish Steps, Roman secured the top floor. Armed guards controlled the elevator. Cameras monitored every entrance. Claire was given a room adjoining his. She locked her door. An hour later, she opened it. Roman stood on the balcony, speaking in Italian into his phone. The city glowed behind him. His shirt sleeves were rolled to the elbows, revealing strong forearms and that controlled, dangerous stillness. He ended the call when he saw her. You should sleep. You keep telling me what I should do. You keep ignoring me. She stepped onto the balcony. Where are we going tomorrow? To a club, under the old city. Of course, the Belandis move information through it. And what do I do? Stay close. The words were simple, but the way he said them made the air change. Claire looked away first. You don't have to pretend this is about protecting me. Roman moved closer, slowly enough that she could step back. She didn't. I do not pretend about protection. Then why me? His gaze dropped to her mouth for the briefest second. Then he looked past her, toward the city. Because some debts are paid in silence. Claire wanted to ask more. But before she could, Roman's phone buzzed again. He read the message. Something deadly entered his eyes. What is it? She asked. He turned the screen toward her. A live video feed. Elena sat in the white room, eyes swollen from crying. A man's hand entered the frame and placed a knife against her throat. Claire stopped breathing. A distorted voice spoke through the phone. Bring the prosecutor to the catacombs. Midnight. No guards. Or the sister dies. Roman's hand closed around the phone so hard Claire thought it might break. They want me, she whispered. Roman looked at her. No, he said. They want to see what I will destroy when they threaten you. The underground club beneath Rome was nothing like Claire expected. No neon chaos. No loud music. Just red velvet, old stone arches, candlelight, and men in tailored suits who stopped speaking when Roman entered. He walked through the room like a man who owned every breath inside it. Claire stayed at his side in a black dress she had not chosen, her hair pinned back, her heart beating too fast. To anyone watching, she looked like his date, his possession, his weakness. That was the point. Roman leaned close to her ear. "Do not leave my side." His breath touched her skin. She hated the shiver that followed. "I know how to handle criminals." His voice dropped. "Not criminals who know you are mine." She turned sharply. "I am not yours." Roman's eyes held hers. "No," he said. "But they need to believe you are." The words should have angered her. They did. But beneath that anger was something far more dangerous. The first man who approached them was Carlo Belandi, the youngest son of the rival family. Beautiful in a poisonous way, with pale eyes and a smile that never reached them. "Roman," Carlo said, "you brought the prosecutor. How romantic." Roman did not smile. "You sent a photograph." Carlo looked at Claire. "Did you like it?" Claire's hand tightened around her glass. Roman noticed. The temperature around them seemed to fall. "You will speak to me," Roman said. "Not her," Carlo laughed softly. "Still, pretending you don't care." Roman stepped closer. The club went silent. Carlo's smile thinned. Claire saw it then. Every man in the room feared Roman not because he was loud, but because he did not need to be. He could end a life with the same calm he used to order wine. Carlo leaned toward Claire. "Ask him about the fire," he whispered. Roman moved. No one saw the blade until Carlo was pinned against the stone wall, with Roman's knife pressed under his jaw. Claire froze. Roman's face remained calm, but his eyes were black with violence. "Say one more word to her," Roman said softly, "and your father will receive you in pieces." Carlo swallowed. Claire should have been horrified. Part of her was. Another part could not look away, because Roman was not defending his pride. He was defending a wound, and somehow, Claire was inside it. They left the club with a location, not the catacombs, a harbor outside Rome. Roman had extracted it without blood, though Claire suspected that was only because she was watching. In the SUV, Claire stared at him. "What fire?" Roman looked out the window. Carlo liked stories. Roman. His name felt different now. He heard it too. His jaw flexed. "Not tonight." The harbor smelled of salt, diesel, and rain. Fog rolled over the water, hiding the ships in grey silence. Roman's men moved through the shadows with weapons drawn. Claire stayed behind Roman, though every instinct told her to run ahead when she heard a sound from inside a warehouse. A woman crying. "Elena." Claire breathed. Roman caught her wrist. "Wait, my sister is in there, and that is why you wait." She pulled against him. "Let go." His grip tightened. Not painful, but unbreakable. "Claire, look at me." She did. His expression was harsh with focus. "If you run in blind, you die. If you die, I." He stopped. The unfinished sentence hung between them. Claire whispered, "You what?" A gunshot answered. Roman shoved her behind a concrete barrier as bullets tore through the fog. Men shouted in Italian. Muzzle flashes lit the warehouse windows. Claire dropped low, heart slamming. Roman stood over her, firing with impossible precision. Cold, controlled, lethal. But every few seconds, his eyes returned to her, checking, counting, terrified. When the shooting stopped, they entered the warehouse. Inside, they found a chair, a rope, blood, no Elena. Only a phone placed beneath a hanging lamp. It rang. Claire answered with shaking hands. Elena's voice filled the room. "I'm sorry, Claire." Claire closed her eyes. "Elena, where are you?" "I didn't know they would hurt people." Roman went still. Claire looked at him. "What are you saying?" Her sister sobbed softly. "They told me you would never come unless Roman was involved. They told me he owed us." Claire's grip tightened on the phone. "Elena? Who told you?" A pause. Then Elena whispered, "The Belandis said Roman killed Dad." Claire turned slowly toward him. Roman's face revealed nothing. Nothing at all. And that was worse. Claire's voice broke. "Did you?" Roman did not answer fast enough. Claire stepped back. "Did you kill my father?" "No." "Then why did you hesitate?" Because truth, she realized, had weight, and Roman was carrying too much of it. He said, "I was there when he died." The world narrowed. Claire lifted the gun she had taken from one of Roman's men. She aimed it at his chest. His guards raised their weapons. Roman lifted his hand. Again they froze. He looked only at Claire. Rain dripped through holes in the warehouse roof. "Tell them to leave," she said. Roman's eyes did not leave hers. "Leave us." His men obeyed. Claire held the gun steady, though her hands trembled. "Talk." Roman's voice was low. "Your father made a deal with the Belandis. Then he betrayed them. They came for your family. I was 24. My father sent me to collect documents from your house. I arrived after the first shots." Claire's throat tightened. "No. You were upstairs." She stopped breathing. "Elena was hiding in a closet. Your mother was already dead. Your father was bleeding in the kitchen." Claire's eyes burned. "Stop. I carried you out through the back before the fire reached the stairs." Her gun lowered an inch. "Fire. The scar on his side." Roman continued. Each word dragged from somewhere deep. "My younger brother was with me, Luca. He went back for Elena." Claire's lips parted. Roman looked away for the first time. He didn't come out. Silence swallowed the warehouse. Claire's memories were broken after that night. Smoke, sirens, hospital lights, Elena crying, her father's funeral, adults whispering organized crime. She had never remembered anyone carrying her. She had never known someone died trying to save her sister. Roman looked back at her. "The Belandis blamed my family for interfering. Your father's files disappeared. My brother burned. And you grew up believing men like me killed everyone you loved." Claire could barely speak. "Why didn't you tell me?" Roman's expression hardened. "Would you have believed me?" No. She knew she wouldn't have. The truth hurt because it was simple. She had hated him because hatred was easier than grief. The phone rang again. Claire flinched. Roman took it this time. A text appeared on the screen. "Come to Sicily. Bring her." The message included a photograph. Elena stood beside Carlo Belandi, wounded, unhurt, holding a gun. Claire stared at it. Her sister had not been taken. She had walked willingly into the trap. Sicily waited, like a dream built from danger. The DeLuca villa stood on a cliff above a stormy coastline, its walls pale against the dark sea, its windows glowing amber in the evening rain. Olive trees bent in the wind. Black SUVs lined the gravel drive like silent predators. Claire had stopped speaking after the flight. Roman did not force her. That made it harder. He gave her space, but never distance. Guards remained outside her room. Food appeared without request. Her phone was returned, though all calls were monitored. Every door opened for her except the ones that would get her killed. She hated him less. That terrified her more. On the second night, she found him in the villa's chapel. Not the abandoned church from the beginning. This one was small, private, filled with candles and old family photographs. Roman stood before a framed image of a boy with his same dark eyes. "Luca." Claire approached quietly. "I'm sorry," she said. Roman did not turn. "You didn't kill him." "No," she said. "But my family brought yours into it." "My family was already in hell." She stood beside him. For a long moment, they looked at Luca's photograph together. "He was younger?" Claire asked. 17. Her heart tightened. Roman's face remained controlled, but his voice changed. He laughed at everything, even things that were not funny. especially then. Claire looked at him. For the first time, she saw not the Mafia boss, not the criminal, not the man she had built into a symbol. She saw a brother who had been left alive. Roman turned slightly. "You should not look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you're trying to forgive me. Maybe I'm trying to understand you." His eyes darkened. "That is more dangerous." The space between them grew too quiet. Claire felt his hand lift. He almost touched her face. Almost. Then footsteps sounded outside the chapel. Roman stepped back instantly. One of his men entered. "Boss." Belandi sent coordinates. Roman's softness disappeared. The Mafia boss returned. But Claire had already seen the man beneath. The coordinates led to an abandoned monastery near the coast. Roman refused to bring Claire. Claire refused to stay behind. Their argument shook the villa. "You are not walking into a Belandi trap," Roman said. "She's my sister. She betrayed you. She's still my sister." His eyes flashed. "And you are still the person they want to break." Claire stepped closer. "Stop deciding what I can survive." Roman's voice dropped. "I have watched you survive too much already." The words stopped her. Hidden surveillance. Secret protection. Years of him in the shadows. Claire looked at him slowly. "You've been watching me." Roman did not deny it. "For how long?" His silence answered. Claire's voice went cold. "Since the fire?" "Since threats began appearing again." "How long?" 6 years. She slapped him again. This time, it was not hatred. It was betrayal. Roman accepted it without moving. "You had no right. I know. You watched my home, my office, my life?" "Yes." "Why?" His control fractured. "Because every time I tried to stop, someone came close to killing you." Claire's breath shook. "You should have told me, and put you deeper inside my world." "I was already in it." Roman stepped closer. His voice turned raw around the edges. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to know which window in your apartment sticks in winter? Which coffee shop you visit after court? Which route you take when you're too angry to sleep?" Claire stared at him. His obsession stood exposed between them. Not romantic. Not clean. Dangerous. Terrifying. And somehow born from grief, guilt, and a devotion he had never allowed himself to name. Roman looked away first. "I became the monster outside your door, so no other monster could get in," Claire whispered. "That doesn't make it right." "No?" His eyes returned to hers. "But it kept you alive." The monastery was a skeleton against the storm. Broken arches. Black sea beyond the cliffs. Wind screaming through empty corridors. Roman entered with Claire at his side and 6 men behind him. Inside the main hall, Carlo Belandi waited beneath a collapsed ceiling. Elena stood beside him. Claire's heart broke at the sight of her sister. Elena looked thinner, paler, but not afraid. Angry. "Elena," Claire said. "Come here." Her sister laughed softly. "You always do that." Claire stopped. "Do what?" "Talk like you're the only adult in the room." Roman's hand moved slightly toward Claire's back, but did not touch her. Elena saw it. Her smile turned bitter. "So it's true. The great Claire Foster fell for the devil." Claire's face tightened. "I came to save you." "No. You came because you finally didn't know everything." Carlo placed a hand on Elena's shoulder. Roman's eyes locked on it. A silent warning. Carlo smiled. "Careful, DeLuca. Jealousy makes men predictable." Roman's voice was ice. "Remove your hand." Carlo did not. The shot Roman fired hit the stone inches from Carlo's head. Elena screamed. Claire grabbed Roman's arm. "Stop." Roman looked at Carlo. "I missed on purpose." Every man in the hall believed him. Elena shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "You don't understand, Claire. Dad left something behind. Accounts, names, money. Enough to ruin all of them," Claire whispered. What did you do? I found his files. Roman went still. Elena looked at him, and I found out. Roman knew. He knew our father wasn't innocent. He knew everything. And he let you build your life on a lie. Claire looked at Roman. His face was grim. She is telling the truth, he said. The betrayal hit differently this time. Not like a bullet, like ice under skin. You knew? Claire asked. Yes, and you let me prosecute people while defending my father's name. I let you keep the part of him you loved. Claire's eyes filled. That wasn't your choice. No, Roman said quietly. It wasn't. Elena lifted her gun toward Roman. He ruined us. Claire stepped forward. Elena, put it down. No. You chose him. I chose to find you. You always chose the case. The law. The perfect dead father. You never chose me. The truth beneath Elena's anger hurt more than Claire expected, because some part of it was real. Claire had raised her sister after their parents died, but she had also buried herself in work, in justice, in obsession. Elena had been grieving beside her, while Claire chased ghosts in courtrooms. Carlo leaned toward Elena. Do it. Roman moved first. Carlo's men opened fire. The monastery exploded into violence. Claire was shoved behind a stone pillar as bullets shattered ancient walls. Roman fought like a shadow-given form, fast and brutal, his men closing ranks around them. Elena run. Claire chased her through the ruined corridors, toward the cliffside chapel. Rain poured through the open roof. Elena? Her sister turned, gun shaking. You don't get to save me now. Claire slowed. No. Maybe I don't. But I can stand here. I can listen. Elena's face crumpled. For 1 second, she looked like the little girl Claire used to hold during thunderstorms. Then Carlo appeared behind her. He grabbed Elena by the throat and pressed a gun to her head. Touching, he said. Roman entered behind Claire, blood darkening his sleeve. His eyes went deadly when he saw Carlo holding Elena. Carlo smiled at him. Now we make a trade. The prosecutor for the sister. Claire knew Roman would refuse. Knew it before he spoke. But she also knew Elena would die if he did. So Claire stepped forward. I'll go. Roman's hand caught her wrist. No. She looked at him. For once, his calm was gone. No, he repeated, softer but more desperate. Claire whispered. Trust me. His grip trembled. He did not want to let go. That was when she understood. Roman DeLuca, who could command armies, could not survive losing her. Not again. Claire pulled free. Carlo shoved Elena aside and seized Claire. Cold metal pressed beneath her jaw. Roman stopped breathing. Carlo backed toward the chapel exit, dragging Claire with him. Drop your weapons. Roman did. His gun hit the stone floor. His men followed. Claire felt Carlo smile against her hair. Look at him, he whispered. The great Roman DeLuca, brought down by one woman. Roman's eyes never left Claire's. Not the gun. Not Carlo. Claire. Let her go, Roman said. Carlo laughed. Beg. The room went silent. Roman's face changed. Something old and wounded broke open. For 1 terrible second, Claire saw the boy from the fire. The brother who had failed to save Luca. The man who had spent years mistaking control for redemption. Roman lowered himself to his knees. Claire's heart stopped. Roman, she whispered. He ignored her. His knees touched the stone. Rain fell through the ruined roof onto his shoulders. Carlo's smile widened. There he is. Roman looked up. His voice was steady, but his eyes were devastated. Take me. Claire's throat burned. No. Roman kept looking at her. Not Carlo. Here. Not her. Carlo lifted his gun toward Roman's head. Elena moved. Fast. She slammed into Carlo from the side. The gun fired into the ceiling. Claire twisted free. Roman surged up like a released storm. The fight lasted seconds. Carlo was strong. Roman was inevitable. When it ended, Carlo lay unconscious on the stone, and Roman stood over him breathing hard, one hand bleeding, his control hanging by a thread. He could have killed him. Claire saw that he wanted to. Every man in the room saw it. But Claire touched his wrist. One touch. Roman froze. She whispered, "Don't become what they said you were." His hand opened. The knife fell. That was the first time Roman DeLuca chose mercy, because Claire asked. But the war was not over. The Belandis struck before dawn. They attacked the DeLuca villa with boats from the sea and trucks through the olive groves. The night filled with gunfire, fire, and shattering glass. Claire woke to Roman pulling her from bed. Move. Smoke filled the corridor. Alarms screamed. He kept one hand at her back as they ran through the candlelit mansion, past armed guards and broken windows. Elena stumbled behind them, crying, protected by two of Roman's men despite everything she had done. At the stairs, an explosion threw Claire sideways. Roman caught her before she hit the floor. For a moment, the world became heat and dust. When Claire opened her eyes, Roman was over her again, always between her and death. Blood ran from his temple. "You're hurt," she gasped. "Can you stand? Roman, can you stand?" Yes. They reached the underground tunnel beneath the villa, an old smuggler's passage leading toward the cliffs. Halfway through, Roman stopped. Behind them, fire spread through the mansion. Ahead, the tunnel exit had collapsed. They were trapped. Elena began sobbing. Claire looked at Roman. For the first time, he looked afraid. Not for himself. Never for himself. He touched the wall, searching. "There's another way," he said, but his voice told her there wasn't enough time. Explosions shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Claire grabbed his hand. He looked down at their joined fingers like he had never expected such mercy. "Roman," she said, "if we get out of this." "When," he said. She almost smiled through tears. "When we get out of this, no more shadows. No more watching from across the street. No more deciding for me." His eyes softened in the dark. "And if I don't know how to love, without protecting, then learn." Something broke in his face. Not weakness. Surrender. He lifted her hand and pressed his mouth against her knuckles. The gesture was restrained, reverent, devastating. Then he pulled away and shoved his shoulder against a hidden iron door. Once, twice. On the third blow, it opened to a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. The tunnel led to the abandoned church on the cliffs. The same church where Claire had first seen him broken. They emerged into a storm. The chapel stood half-ruined, candles still burning from some forgotten ritual. Roman guided Elena inside, then turned back toward the entrance as headlights cut through the rain outside. The Belandis had followed. Roman handed Claire a gun. She looked at it, then at him. "I'm a prosecutor." His mouth tightened. "Tonight, you are alive." The final confrontation came beneath the altar. Carlo's father, Vittorio Belandi, entered with 6 men and the calm arrogance of an old king. He looked at Roman. "Your father would be ashamed." Roman said nothing. Vittorio's gaze moved to Claire. "And your father would be proud. His daughters destroyed the DeLucas better than he ever could." Elena flinched. Claire stepped forward. "My father was a coward who hid behind better people." Vittorio smiled. He was ambitious. He was weak. The smile disappeared. Claire lifted her chin. "And so are you." Vittorio raised his gun. Roman moved in front of her, but Elena fired first. Her shot struck Vittorio's shoulder, sending him stumbling back. Chaos erupted again, close and brutal in the candlelight. Roman fought through it with terrifying precision, but he was wounded. slower, bleeding too much. Vittorio recovered and aimed at Claire. Roman saw it. He crossed the chapel in a blur and took the bullet meant for her. The impact drove him to his knees. Claire screamed his name. Everything after that became instinct. Roman's men stormed the church. Vittorio fell. Carlo was dragged away. Elena dropped her gun and collapsed, sobbing near the altar. Claire reached Roman as he sank against the stone steps. Blood spread across his black shirt. His face was pale. Tu parles. No, Claire said, pressing her hands against the wound. No, you don't get to do this. Roman looked up at her. Rain and candlelight moved across his face. I told you, he breathed. I do not pretend about protection. Shut up. His mouth curved faintly. Claire's tears fell onto his shirt. I hated you, she whispered. I know. I blamed you for everything. I know. I don't want you to die. His eyes held hers, dark and impossibly tender. That, he whispered. I did not know. Then his eyes closed. Roman survived. Barely. The next week unfolded inside a private hospital in Palermo, where every hallway was guarded by DeLuca men, and every doctor looked afraid to breathe too loudly. Claire stayed. Not because anyone asked. Because leaving felt impossible. Elena confessed everything. The resentment. The Belandis. The files. The plan to lure Claire into Roman's world and force the truth into the open. She had not known how far Carlo would go. That did not erase what she had done. Claire listened to her sister's confession without interrupting. Then she hugged her. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a beginning. The files Elena found exposed decades of crimes by both families, corrupt officials, and powerful men who had built careers on buried bodies and clean suits. Claire sent copies to trusted contacts in New York. Not all of Roman's world could be redeemed. Not all of Claire's world was clean. That was the hardest truth. Justice was no longer simple, but it was still worth choosing. Roman woke on the 9th day. Claire was sitting beside his bed, asleep in a chair, her hand resting near his. He turned his head slightly. Claire. Her eyes opened. For 1 second, she looked unguarded. Then relief broke through everything. You idiot, she whispered. His voice was rough. That is not usually how people greet me. I'm not people. No, he said, watching her. You are not. The silence between them changed. Claire reached for his hand. This time, he let her. Weeks later, New York learned that Roman DeLuca had vanished. Some said he had died in Sicily. Some said he had fled to South America. Some said the prosecutor who once hunted him had made a deal no one would ever prove. Claire Foster returned to court with quieter eyes and sharper convictions. She took down men wearing badges, men wearing silk, men who had hidden behind both law and crime. She did not defend Roman's sins, but she no longer pretended monsters only lived on one side of the courtroom. Elena entered witness protection under a new name. The DeLuca empire changed hands, though no one knew how much Roman still controlled from the shadows. And Claire began receiving letters with no return address. Not romantic letters, not confessions, coordinates, warnings, names, evidence. Every envelope smelled faintly of smoke and cedar. For 3 months, she did not answer. Then, on the first snowy night of winter, Claire came home to find a black car waiting outside her apartment. Roman DeLuca stood beside it in a dark coat, snow collecting on his shoulders. No guards visible, no command in his posture, just a man waiting in the cold, because he no longer wanted to love her from the shadows. Claire stopped beneath the street lamp. You're not supposed to be here, she said. Roman's eyes moved over her face like he was memorizing proof of life. I know. You look terrible. I was shot because you jumped in front of a bullet. Yes. For me. His voice softened. Always. The word should have scared her. It did, but not enough to make her walk away. Claire stepped closer. No more watching my apartment. I sold the building across the street. She stared at him. You owned the building across the street? Roman hesitated. Claire narrowed her eyes. Roman, I am learning. Despite herself, she laughed once. Small. Broken. Real. The sound changed his face. Not into softness. Roman DeLuca would never be harmless. But something in him eased, as if that one laugh had reached a place violence never could. Claire looked up at the falling snow. What now? Roman did not touch her. He waited, letting her choose. That mattered more than any apology. Claire stepped forward and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers slowly, carefully, as if power itself had learned restraint. Now, she said, you walk me home. Roman looked at her, then at the building, then back to her. A faint shadow of a smile touched his mouth. As you wish, counselor. They walked through the snow side by side. No silence, no gunfire, no courthouse steps. Only winter, breath, silence, and the dangerous tenderness of two people who had survived the truth. At her door, Claire turned to him. You know, I still don't know how to forgive all of it. Roman nodded. I do not ask you to, and I won't belong to you. His eyes held hers. No, he said, but I will belong to you, if you let me. The words entered her quietly. Not as a demand, as a surrender. Claire looked at the man she had hated, feared, misunderstood, and somehow found in the ruins of everything she believed. Then she reached up and touched the scar near his temple. Roman went completely still, like a king kneeling without moving, like a dangerous man learning gentleness from the only woman who had ever made him afraid. Claire whispered, Come inside. Snow fell harder over New York. Across the street, there were no hidden cameras, no black SUVs, no men waiting in the dark. Only Roman DeLuca, stepping out of the cold and into the warm light of Claire Foster's apartment, leaving behind the shadowed world where love had meant control. For the first time in his life, he entered without taking. For the first time in hers, Claire let danger become devotion. And somewhere beyond the city, in the silence between law and sin, a new story was already beginning.